shocking as until yesterday, should something catastrophic happen to Vince McMahon where he could not run WWE, Wilson and Barrios would have been next in line from a corporate perspective. They were the number 2 and 3 most important employees of the company, right under Vince. Even above Steph and Hunter. Of course. Even more shocking is the fact that there was no build-up to them leaving. As far as we know, these two were part of the WWE team who were in the room when the company struck their milestone Fox TV deal, something Vince McMahon wasn't even present for. And given that the news wasn't held off until the weekend when most companies drop negative news, hoping it's forgotten by the time the work week begins, and was announced out of nowhere, could be an indication that something happened that led to an immediate departure. WWE stock took a nosedive of over 27% with its stock opening today at $45. Its lowest number in 18 months. So buy now, folks!
Buy.
That shit was just over $103 like 6 months ago.
And it will be again.
It will. That's why I'm saying buy now. I would.
Yeah.
The timing of the shakeup is interesting as well. WWE will report its fourth quarter and 2019 financial results next Thursday, so it would appear McMahon wasn't happy with how things were heading for the company and that he felt it was time for a change. There's a very small circle who know exactly what went down, and chances are that a full view of how it transpired won't be known for a long time, if ever, with what corporate non-disclosures and severance packages factored in. But we can speculate, folks.
And we do.
Woo. PW Insider was informed that an internal memo released to employees alluded to irreconcilable differences in the company's strategic priorities. Within WWE, the reaction amongst employees is said to be that of complete shock. One WWE employee speaking under condition of
anonymity.
Yes, a sea anemone. Stated that when the news was announced, all work ground to a halt as everyone was stunned by the news. Another staff member claimed it was the most shocking day they could remember since that horrible day in 2007 we talked about at the top of the show.
No,
that
was a day when WWE fired 10% of its workforce due to poor numbers.
That was also in 2007.
Correct.
Well, usually when we talk about that horrible day in 2007, it's that one thing.
That was shocking also. A lot happened in 2007 for WWE. It was not a good year.
It's good to see where their minds are at corporate, the things that really matter.
Right.
10%. More important than that man's family. There was a lot of feelings of what happens now with projects and strategies that were already underway, including the continually pushed back tiered versions of the WWE Network, which was a Barrios project. Vince released a public statement reading, "I would like to thank George and Michelle for their 10 plus years of service." He didn't even state how many years because he couldn't be bothered to. His right and left hand men.
He's like, they were around for about a decade, I'm sure.
They had vanilla titties. And contributions to the organization. I'm grateful for all that was accomplished during their tenure, but the board and I decided a change was necessary as we have different views on how best to achieve our strategic priorities moving forward. Folks, get ready for that.
Woo!
Just Vince sitting at the top, making all the decisions. It's going to be good.
Right.
Not to mention XFL starts next week.
Oh, it's a busy time for old Vincent Kennedy.
He goes on, "We have a deep team of talented, experienced, and committed executives across the organization, and the board and I have great confidence in our collective abilities to create compelling content, engage our global fan base across platforms, increase revenues, and drive shareholder value." We're moving the whole brand to Saudi Arabia, folks.
Yes, I could see that happening too. That's how sad it is. This is huge news, and I don't even know where to speculate. This is very backstage, very corporate stuff that it's really hard to say And just a little bit we know about Vince, for all you know, he could have just not eaten lunch that day and gotten cranky and just been like, fucking get them out of here. I'm sick of them. They've been here 10 plus years, isn't it? That's enough. But it is interesting that both George and Michelle had a lot to do with the Fox merger and the WWE Network launch. Those two things were their biggest contributions, but again, those are two of the biggest things in the company, so they don't that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with them being fired. Those are just the two biggest things associated. Who knows?
It's definitely bizarre, and like I said, with the XFL starting up, Vince's attention is going to be entirely elsewhere. So it's going to be weird for a while.
What if, like, Monday they announce XFL co-executive presidents George Barrios and Michelle Wilson?
And then the shareholders have even more to sue him about.
Right? Well,
I feel like this plays into that too. Like they were willing to, like testify against him or whatever in the and then he's like, nope, you're out. And there's NDAs now, so you can't testify. That seems like Vince moves.
Oh, for sure, for 100% for sure.
Yeah,
it's
and in that light, it mirrors what's going on in the political world here in America too. And to me, that
no shit.
Vince and Trump lining up like that, it's perfect to me in my brain. So,
yeah, I would honestly assume that within the next year, this isn't going to make a big splash on anything we as fans notice. You would hope it doesn't, unless it would be for a positive turn, but I don't know. Usually the little bit you read
too is Barrios and Wilson had nothing to do with what you see on TV.
Nothing to do with creative, correct.
Yeah.
It was all business stuff.
Yeah.
And I know Michelle Wilson I never heard a lot about. When you hear about George Barrios, I usually heard positive things about it. And
a lot of the speculation is Vince just possibly can them due to the quarterly reports coming up, and then he can just use them as an excuse.
Yeah,
he does.
What's going to go forward as known as the Eric Bischoff role.
Yes.
That's going to go forward known as that. Whenever they just fire somebody as a scapegoat, there's no longer a scapegoat. It's the.
I bet Triple H
Bischoff
is sweating
goat.
right now, huh? Like, oh shit.
He's calling up his boys in AEW. You guys, just wondering how things were doing down there.
I can get a bunch of these NXT guys to jump ship. Give me a good deal. Make me an EVP.
Somebody who didn't choose to go to AEW and did choose WWE Pasty is Edge.
Mm.
Yes, Adam Coppola returned to in-ring action after almost a decade at the Royal Rumble on Sunday. If you hadn't already heard by now, which I'm assuming everybody has heard.
Man, it's a good thing he didn't cry during his entrance, because I probably would have too. He was almost there, and I was like, oh, fuck, here we go, man.
Yeah.
And his theme song has never made more sense than it did at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah. He, like Bryan Danielson before him, is actually giving hope to many athletes out there suffering and or recovering from CTE, including Paige, who wrote a sweet little deal on social media. Vince McMahon reportedly told him, though, that he would be returning in WWE in the ring if he was going to come back at all. There was no, like, come back to have fun. You come in here and fucking wrestle or you ain't allowed in there. And then he had to get cleared by a WWE doctor.
Christian show of Reeks of Awesomeness.
Yeah, so when he did get cleared by a doctor, they sent a ring to North Carolina so Edge could train. That's pretty awesome.
Hell yeah.
WrestleVotes is reporting the Rated R superstar signed a 3-year contract for reportedly $3 million per year, as long as he does a minimum of 3 matches every year. It's a lot of threes in there. It's the rule of 3. He also has to perform 25 appearances. He's allegedly committed to 5 matches this year already, with the first one being his 2020 Royal Rumble appearance and another at WrestleMania against his former Rated RKO partner Randy Orton. And he will be used as a special attraction moving forward, as opposed to a full-time competitor such as the aforementioned Daniel Bryan.
Oh, yeah, but you can expect we're going to see him pretty heavy through Mania.
One thing I want to point out, which to me was really just shitty, whether this is on Edge's part or WWE's part or whatever, it would have been so cool if he would have been a surprise.
Yeah, if we hadn't reported this like 3 months ago.
Yeah, and the whole weekend leading up to it, he was posting himself in the hotel room there. He posted a picture of him unpacking his ring gear at the hotel right next to the damn stadium. It was like, I mean, we knew. I didn't watch it on Sunday. I watched it a couple days later. But on Monday at work, one of my coworkers was like, "Did you watch the Rumble?" And I was like, "Nah, not yet. I'm thinking about it, waiting to see what I hear about it." And he said, "Well, did you hear about the big return?" I was like, "Are you talking about Edge, or did somebody like surprise return?"
Yeah,
like,
MVP.
No, Edge. He was like, "Edge? No, I'm talking about Edge." I was like, "Oh yeah, I already knew he was." "Oh, I didn't know it was announced." I was like, "Well, I guess it wasn't announced, but it was."
3 months ago that this was happening.
Exactly. But it's great to see him back. It's great to see that he's coming back for a little bit longer. I feel
like one of the bad guys because we're like part of the ones that ruin the surprise.
Ruin it for your childhood. Yeah. But he did it himself. You don't post fucking pictures of yourself dressed. You don't post pictures. You don't post a video of yourself in the Rumble ahead of the Rumble happening and expect people not to know you're going to be in the Rumble.
You got to post stuff like you're there to support your wife who's in the Women's Royal Rumble match.
Right.
You know,
or post a picture of you, taken in front of the Space Needle in Seattle that you took like 2 months ago, but act like you're actually there. Like, "Hey, I'm going to be watching my wife on TV at the Rumble in the Space Needle. Have fun from here in Seattle." Just really throw people off. But it's awesome. Edge,
best
I've
feel-good
always
moment in a
loved
very,
Edge.
very, very long time.
Yep, he's one of the few people I wanted to see return, and I think he has a lot left in him yet. So this is cool. It also reminded me, though, how sad Christian's retirement has been, to where not only did Edge retire, get a big retirement send-off, and now get a huge return, Christian hasn't gotten shit.
Nope. In his last run, he was a whiny guy.
Such a hard-working, amazing athlete.
Give me one more shot, man. I can do it if you give me one more shot.
No, arguably better on the mic and with more charisma than Edge. I would say Edge is better in the ring, but he's definitely Captain Charisma. He's got everything you could want. If he hadn't, let me put it this way: if Christian hadn't have broken in with Edge, he would be a huge star right now.
I would pick Edge over Christian any day, but that's just
in ring. But if you ever listen to either one talk or watched them, Christian has the charisma. He has the crowd in his hands.
Rated RKO or Rated R Superstar era.
Oh yeah, he did with the whole live sex scene and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that was all. That was all.
Pulled that off. That would have been a comedy gimmick.
No, that was all Matt Hardy though. That had nothing to do with Edge. Matt Hardy was the big seller of that. I love Edge. I have nothing against him. I still, to this day, say Undertaker's greatest WrestleMania match was against Edge.
I still have a feeling, though, that Edge and The Fiend are going to cross paths, and then Edge is going to come back 2 weeks later with Christian and Gangrel. So.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think Gangrel, maybe a one-off.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't have to be much, but I see something. At least Christian comes back. But I wanted to toss the Gangrel in because it would make sense for him to go that far back.
Yeah.
But I definitely think he's going to tussle with The Fiend, and Christian and Edge are going to be doing poses in the ring again.
Tussle with The Fiend.
Mm-hmm. Andrade was suspended for his first WWE wellness policy violation, according to Pro Wrestling Sheet. Andrade was confirmed of the 30-day suspension on Monday morning. There was no word yet on what the substance he tested positive for, but the WWE already wrote CN out of the storylines at his post-match angle on Raw as Carrillo dropped him on exposed concrete with his own hammerlock DDT. Andrade took to Instagram on Wednesday saying, "Never quit because things get tough. Remember where you come from and where you're going."
Rehab!
Yeah, the drug dealer's house and rehab. Andrade wrote, including similar comments in Spanish that ended the message with 3 fist emojis as he was fisting Charlotte while Rick
exactly. Woo!
That's where the drugs came from. Flair's
Woo!
medicine